Welcome to HCA Talks Health. I'm Zena LaRue, and my guest for this episode is Michelle Niemeyer. So Michelle worked in a demanding legal career which led to burnout, but she became a certified health coach and then developed the concept she calls the art of bending time. And it offers a systematic approach to designing and living a great life while avoiding self-distraction. So welcome, Michelle. It's lovely to have you on the show, and we're really curious to find out more about this concept that you've developed.
Oh, thank you. And I'm so happy to be here with you and with other health coaches.
So I want to start with your own journey. So you were diagnosed with an autoimmune disease. Can you tell
Yes,
us a little bit more about that and what it was like for you? Was that during while you were working in the demanding legal career that you developed the
it was.
autoimmune?
It
Yeah.
was. And it was actually after I thought I had gone through a very burned out period and I was coming back from it. And I had really started to feel like I was getting there. I'd had a scare a year before the diagnosis, which I'm sure was because of symptoms, but they didn't know that yet. And so I had started working out. I'd lost a bunch of weight. I was a Beachbody coach, if you're familiar with Beachbody. And I was introduced to personal development through that. So I like to say that that was like my kind of like my initial scare. They thought I had gallstones.
Mm.
And my reaction to that was, I'm not going to a gastroenterologist and having them tell me I need surgery. I can fix that with lifestyle.
Yeah.
So I did that and I thought everything was fine. And fast forward a year, and it turned out that I had a blood test done that was really extremely out of whack in the liver enzymes. And it turned out that I have something called PBC, which is primary biliary cholangitis. It attacks your microscopic bile ducts in your liver.
Mm.
So the symptoms they thought were gallstones had to do with blood test results that were twice as bad by a year later.
No, no.
And at that point, obviously I got really scared. I got online. I saw articles that said that I'd need a transplant in 10 years or I would die,
Wow.
all kinds of scary stuff. And so then I was like, I went into deep, deep research mode. In my legal career, some of the work I did was for disability patients. So I'd gotten very good at medical research in the US, we have something called the NIH, the National Institutes of Health.
Yeah.
At least we do for now. Um, so in their website, there's a lot of, medical research, and I read all I could and found out all I could and got a really good doctor. And at the same time, I started doing a lot of research about holistic health and the treatment of autoimmunity. And that led to me becoming a certified health coach.
Wow.
And I did a year-long program just to learn. I mean, I really wasn't planning on using coaching professionally. But
Mm.
then over time, I created a course to help lawyers, and that turned into a lot of great reviews. And then I thought about this thing. I at this point had really done very well, feeling good, turned around a lot of the results as far as my blood testing is now normal, which is lucky for me. I have a
Wow.
really good response to this drug that they give you. But I also have repaired liver damage, which I was told you couldn't do. So, that's good. And I feel great about that. So that all led to me going, okay, how did this, like, what are all the things I did and what's the common denominator? And I realized that when you're all stressed and getting burned out, you feel like the first thing you start thinking is you don't have time. You
Yeah.
don't have good control over your time. The
Mm.
first course I ever bought that was like an online purchase for something I wanted to learn was a time management program.
Mhm.
And I realized that people who are burned out, a lot of times they don't know they're burned out. They're like a lobster in a pot getting cooked.
Yes.
But they think they have a time problem. So that's why my program is focused on time.
Mm.
But what it does is it helps you collapse time. It helps you take things that you do and give them a depth of impact that isn't linear,
Mm.
which is how the concept, the art of bending time, it's about getting the maximum out of the things that you're doing and integrating it throughout your life.
Yes, brilliant. So I want to really dive deeper into that concept and what it means just now. But before we go there, I just want to ask, so what did you get from the health coaching course? What were some of the first shifts that you made that started turning things around for you besides bending time, or the idea of bending time? What else did you do to reverse the autoimmune disease?
Well, I learned a lot about, a lot of different things, obviously. The school that I went to was a nutritional health coaching school, but the
Mm.
concept of nutrition was very broad.
Yeah.
I studied at IIN, which is in New York. They have a philosophy of something they call primary food. And primary food is not the part of the food that you put in your mouth. It's spiritual and it's physical and it's all these other things that fuel us and nourish us that aren't necessarily just food that you're putting in your mouth.
Mm.
So it has to do with your spirituality, it has to do with your exercise habits, it has to do with stress management, it has to do with financial security, all kinds of things.
Mm.
So that was the thing that I probably took away that was most important was the fact that this really is a circular, all-encompassing thing. Being healthy isn't just about not eating sugar or just about, for me, I learned I'm very gluten intolerant. I never had any idea until I cut it out and then
Mm.
reintroduced it.
Mm. What exactly were some of the symptoms that you were experiencing? Was it linked directly to the autoimmune conditions or other gut issues, or how did you pick up on
Well,
gluten?
I didn't know that I had a gluten problem at all until I did an elimination diet. And I didn't eat it for 2 months. And then when I introduced it, I was sicker than a dog.
Yeah. Interesting.
And I had been a person who lived on pasta, like I wasn't big on sandwiches. There were hints from my childhood. I hated sandwiches. I would eat the stuff from the inside and leave the bread. And I'd get in fights with my mother over this. I when I went to college and everybody drank beer, I drank beer like once or twice and I never drank it again because I got so drunk on beer.
Mm.
And it was weird. It was like, I reacted really badly to it. And now I know it was probably because of the gluten.
Ah, interesting. Yeah, but it's you're saying that it was an all-encompassing journey where it's not just about the food that you're putting in your body, it's not just about the movement even, but it's looking at all these different emotional and mental aspects of health as
Oh,
well.
for sure.
Yeah. So I've read on your website, you might think if we're looking at all these different elements that it's about work-life balance as well. This is something that we need to take into consideration. But I've read on your website that you're not a fan of the idea of work-life balance. So tell us more about that.
Okay, so here's how I feel about that. Can I use the strong word?
You can. I'm
Because
not
no,
gonna go,
it's
but you
bullshit.
can go for it.
I really don't believe that it's beneficial at all. And in fact, I think it's harmful to people.
Yeah.
It's this idea that we've been fed that we can have everything and somehow we're going to just be able to do everything and have everything. And that's not possible.
Mm.
And when we try to do that, we end up failing on every front and then we beat ourselves up about it.
Mm.
So it's not only impossible to meet that expectation, and it's almost like an expectation we've placed on ourselves, right? So that when we're at work, we feel bad about not having enough at work or doing enough at work, and when we're at home, we feel like we're not doing enough or being enough at home.
Mm.
And when you're in that place, you can't succeed on any front.
Yeah. Mm.
So my philosophy has to do with having absolute clarity on what lights you up, who you are, what makes you happy, what you can bring to the world, and then using that and using it in an intentional and directed way
Mm.
so that the time that you're spending is time that is making you happy. It's fueling you. Like we talked about, the fuel you get isn't just from food. So
Mm.
if you're feeling fulfilled in what you're doing, if you're feeling excited and happy and you create something and you see that you created it and you're like, wow, that's amazing. I love that I did a great job on this, or I improved on this, or
Mm,
whatever it might be. You're getting fuel from that.
mm,
If you're trying and trying and trying to be more than is capable than anybody's capable of, and you're beating your head against that wall all the time, you're not fueling yourself. You're getting yourself burned out. You're
mm,
asking for it. And, unfortunately, I think that it's something we're being taught is what we're supposed to do. And the other piece of it that I have a real problem with on work-life balance is when we live with an expectation that we're not supposed to extend our relationships from work beyond work, or we're not supposed to extend our personal relationships into our work, we lose out on opportunities
yeah.
because we may have, for instance, a friend at work who does something that we enjoy as a hobby, and we've never even talked about that because we're trying to keep work separate from home.
Mm,
And
mm,
we don't make that connection, and then we don't have that friendship that could have been a really deep, fulfilling friendship.
yeah, you're right.
And so that's where I mean when I talk about kind of collapsing time, and is if you have something that can help move you forward in one part of your life or another, and you allow those lines to cross and those webs to get stronger, then
Mm,
you can pull things together faster.
absolutely. Yeah. No, you're right. And the idea of work-life balance could just be an unrealistic expectation, and you're just putting more pressure on yourself and adding to the stress, which can eventually actually lead to burnout sooner. So it's not really
Yeah. And and
helpful.
you're stifling the desire for human connection in a way.
Mm,
If somebody's boss at work feels like they can't ask them about home, or can't ask them about what they're doing on the weekend because somehow they feel like they're intruding, or they're being told don't connect those worlds, right?
mm,
How are they ever going to have a real relationship with that person?
mm.
And
Limit.
so it actually kills, in a way, an aspect of normal human connection.
Mm, yeah. Limiting the connection. Exactly.
Yeah. And like putting a wall in it.
Mm. So we're not going to aim for work-life balance, but we should.
That's it. To me, it's the worst thing to aim for.
Yeah.
It's the worst thing to aim for.
Mm. So you saying that what we should aim for instead is the idea of maximizing our time and really participating in the things and making sure that's the priority, the things that really bring us joy and gives us energy. So tell us a little bit more. Can you expand on this idea of the art of bending time? Tell us more about what exactly it means.
Okay, so one of the things that I do with people that I'm working with is I use something we call a SWOT analysis.
Mm-hmm.
And the SWOT analysis is if business schools teach something called a SWOT in English analysis. I learned it in Spanish and then translated it. So it's like it became SWOR for me, but it's strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and risks. You analyze a particular project is the idea in
Mm-hmm.
business school. So I work after we go through some preliminary stuff where we get really strong in knowing who we are and getting that clarity and getting good habits down and things that are just basics to keep you strong and healthy and focused.
Mm-hmm.
Then we choose three big goals. And the three big goals are I usually recommend people have a work goal, they have a personal goal, and they have another goal, whatever they choose. And we look at those goals and we go through that analysis. So we say, okay, the strengths. What do you have already? Have you taken a course? Have you gotten your degree? Have you, do you have some experience in this? Have you, whatever, wherever you are, what is it that are your assets in this now?
Mm-hmm.
Weaknesses are what do you need to get? How much more do you need to invest, learn, do to get to that place where you can achieve that goal? The opportunities are what will you get from it in the end?
Mm.
So that could be a feeling of accomplishment. It could be that you've checked it off your bucket list. It could be that you have connections with people, or it moves your career forward, or it does something for your family, whatever that is. And then what are the risks? What are you giving up to get that? Because anything you do, and people often don't look at their goals like this,
Mm.
but whatever goals you're chasing, you're giving up other things to be able to do that,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And after we've gone through that whole analysis, which is pretty significant, a lot of times when I'm working with one-on-one coaching clients, I have to extend. Sometimes we do an extra week so that we can get through all that because it's a lot.
A lot.
And when we get through that, I will then say, first number that comes to mind, 1 through 10, how much do you want it?
Mm.
That's the D in SWORD for desire.
Mm-hmm.
And you would not believe how many people tell me 6. This is one of their 3 big goals they've chosen,
Yeah.
right?
Mm.
But when they've gone through that whole analysis, they're like, wow, okay, I wanted this since I was 12 years old, or this is something that my parents always expected of me. They start realizing it wasn't even their own goal, or they've outgrown it. It
Mm.
doesn't really matter to them anymore. And
Mm-hmm.
they've been giving that goal space in their head, and they've been giving that goal possibly financial resources, time, effort. And a lot of times people, they ditch one of their goals, like that they thought was one of their most important goals in life. Because once they look at it clearly, they're like, what was I thinking? This isn't what I want. Like, this isn't who I am anymore.
Yeah.
Because over life we evolve and the other things impact. You can't just, like with the work-life balance thing, you may have a fantastic family that you love and you want to have time for, and that work goal might completely intrude on that in a way that's not possible to reconcile, or
Mm.
vice versa, right?
Mm.
So you have to know who you are and what matters most to you.
Exactly.
And then you can start making those choices. And when you get deep into it and you know in your heart what's right for you, it's not hard to make those choices anymore.
Mm-hmm. That's a really powerful question. Really tapping into that desire. How much do you really want it?
Yeah.
I guess that's a huge breakthrough if a client can realize, oh my gosh, it's not my goal. I don't really want it. And it might have been because of shoulds or expectations. Like you said, it might have been a family member's goal or something that they just feel like, you know, we're expected to do this in
Right.
today's world, and it's not really theirs. So, a
Hmm.
very important question to add on there. So, what are some of the benefits that your clients see when they experience when they learn how to bend their time? What are some of the benefits?
Well, I'm going to give you an example of a business benefit which blew my mind.
Yeah.
I had one client who doubled his business in 12 weeks.
Wow.
And it was through crazy things you'd never imagine. The first thing he did was we got into clarity and we realized that he was very physical. Again, into this, that, not just food thing. He was a really physical guy who wasn't working out the way he used to work out. And he realized, wait a minute, I need that. Like my body needs that for nourishment, to build energy, to feel good. And so he started surfing every morning. And I mean, think about it. He started surfing every morning, and the next thing we knew, he was like better energy. He had he had his own business and he had to make sales calls in his business, and he was dedicating his mornings to sales calls. He was making more calls with better energy, with a better attitude, and all of a sudden he was getting like way more business. And then on top of that, as we got into the higher level stuff and we got into this goal setting level, I have a team building exercise where once we've set the goals, we go back into that analysis and we add in, who do you know or who can you find out about that might know more about this than you do, so that you can find out what are the shortcuts. How can I do this less expensively, for instance, whatever that might be. And he was really into wanting, he had a life goal of, taking his kids. He lived in Australia and he wanted to buy a caravan
Yeah.
and go around the country for a year and like homeschool his kids from the camper van and see all the things, and just have a year of traveling.
Wow.
And when we got into that team building exercise, we talked about, who do you know who knows about this? Has anybody done this already that you could talk to about it? And he had a client who had a business that modified camper vans.
Oh.
And I said, have you talked to him about it? And he said, no, I don't want to make him feel like I'm asking for something for free. And
Mm.
I was like, don't make it that way. Just call the guy. This was like his homework that week. Call the guy, talk to him about this, tell him it's something you're really excited about personally for your family, and ask if he has any advice about how you can do this and the best way to prepare for it. What do you need? All that. And that guy was very helpful, but he also, when he realized that my client was not just, a great SEO guy, but was like into what he did specifically, he helped him get more business in that vertical. So it was like, that guy's vendors and that guy's customers started working with my client too. And he
Fantastic.
had 5 new clients that came out of it.
Wow.
So, all of that because he stepped outside of, again, the work life, right? That's the work life balance thing. He wasn't going to ask that guy because he felt in the work world he didn't want to intrude
Yeah.
his personal into his work.
Yeah.
But when he could show that guy that personally he was connected, it blew up. It made this huge amount of difference.
Huge difference. Absolutely. And it's so interesting how, I mean, you're saying that he started surfing. It's not even business related. You would think,
Right. It's like random, right? It's crazy. You look at it and you're like, how, what? Like surfing? And so this comes out of the clarity exercise that we do where we talk about what lights you up, right? And we try to go back to that like that feeling from childhood when you're just excited like a kid looking at the Christmas tree in the morning on Christmas morning and that present that you've been dreaming about and asked for months or whatever and you're all excited like that level of excitement and happiness or you won your first race on a team in school or you got an A on something you worked really hard on or there's all kinds of things and everybody's different so what lights you up might not be what lights me up
yeah,
but for him, it was moving his body and being in the water. And he and his wife had moved to where they lived just so that he could surf. And then life got in the way.
yeah. And
And
some people might think, oh, that's actually going to be counterproductive because I need to spend all my time in my business if I want to make it grow. Now, I
right,
can't do these leisurely activities right now, but um, I think it's really about realizing that that could be just as important as setting up a meeting or doing some sales calls or something that is business related like you explained. It's something that's going to give you more energy. It's going to be something that lights you up and you're going to show up in a better way in your
exactly.
business, and that's often what is needed in order to move forward.
And there's also when you work in types of work where it's very mind intense, like I was a litigation attorney, and there's tons of reading and kind of like putting together you have to connect the ideas and make arguments that judges buy into, right? So, and look at a lot of facts and a lot of information and talk to people and ask the right questions and all of that matters. And what I find is that I get more out of taking some time and, for instance, my last case before I finally moved full time into what I'm doing now, I had 2 appeals in Boston where I had to go up there and I prepped for a couple days beforehand. They were big deal appeals and probably 100 cases I had to read and just a whole lot of paperwork and memorization and knowing the arguments. And I made a point of getting out on the beach and walking every day.
Mm,
And I think it really made a difference for me because just having that little break, even if it wasn't that big of a break, it was like maybe an hour, but
Yeah.
having that hour where my mind could flow, I got ideas out of that I might not have gotten otherwise.
Yeah. I agree. I often get the absolute best ideas when I'm just overlooking the ocean or, when I'm really in a relaxed state. So I can absolutely resonate with that. So if someone listening today is thinking, "Oh, I like this idea," what are some practical ways that they can start bending their time today or tomorrow? Where can they start?
I would say the first thing is to get some real clarity on what lights you up.
Yeah.
Um, I have an exercise that I can give people access to
Mm,
online that would be really helpful. They can go to my website, and you're not in the United States. I have a text thing in the United States, but that wouldn't help you much.
yeah.
So you'll put my website in the show notes, I'm assuming, but it's www.michelleniemeyer.com, and you can see my name up here. It looks like on the screen. So it's spelled just like my name with no dots or spaces or anything. And that will get you to a place where you can sign up for a community. And in there is a clarity exercise, which is like a meditational, it's sort of like a guided meditation that I do.
Mm,
And it helps people get to that, visualizing what makes them feel good, what makes them proud, what makes them happy, what makes them excited. And when you get connected to those things, then you can start thinking from the place of now I know rock solid who am I and what lights me up.
mm,
Then you can connect that to what you're doing. And one thing I see in people who are burned out, almost nobody
yeah.
goes into a career that they think they're going to hate,
No.
right? I mean, you just don't. Nobody does that.
Yeah.
So there was something that attracted you to it. There was something that you liked about it. And in the beginning, you probably loved your job. People who burn out are not the people who hate their job and clock out at 5 o'clock. They're the people who work too hard
Yeah.
because they want to move forward and they want to do well. So reconnecting with those aspects of what you do that light you up
Mm,
is really important to recovering from burnout. And what happens to a lot of people, I think, is especially as you move forward in your career, sometimes you start having to do more and more tasks that aren't really what you thought the job was.
mm,
And as you have to do more of that, whether it's, you're doing accounting now or you're making collections calls or you're managing people and you didn't really see yourself as managing people, whatever it is, there may be some aspect of what you do that, you really love that you're not getting as much of.
mm,
And one way you can really make sure to recover is find ways to get that thing that lights you up
mm.
and find ways to appreciate some of those new things that you're not maybe appreciating. And if you really can't appreciate them at all, find a way to delegate them.
Yeah. That's a great first step. So really figuring out what it is that lights me up. I think that's a
Yes.
real first step. And then figuring out how to get it back and looking at where you're at now. Where's the disconnect?
Yeah.
What needs to change in order for
And
you?
from Yeah, and for most people, that doesn't mean they have to quit their job and change careers or
Yeah.
completely blow everything up to make it better. Or collapse. I mean, sadly, what happens with a lot of people is they get so burned out, they end up losing their job or they end up, you know,
Mm.
totally collapsing and then having to rebuild. And that doesn't have to happen.
Yeah. It might be a simple conversation with your boss, or it might be that, like you said, you need to delegate better or some other practical step.
Yeah.
If someone's listening today and they want to learn more about the work that you do, should they also go to your website, the one you've just shared? Is that
Yes.
okay?
Yes.
Is there any other way that they can connect with you, any other social media accounts, or is the
I
website?
have a LinkedIn and I think I gave you the LinkedIn link.
I'll
If
put
I
it in
didn't,
the
I'll get that
description.
to you.
Yeah, we'll do that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, fantastic. Okay, so anything else that you maybe want to leave our listeners with today? We've covered quite a few interesting thoughts, but anything else that you want to leave our listeners with?
I want to share my little toy with you. This is my toy.
Yeah. What's that?
So this is actually my dog's toy,
Yeah.
but I use it to demonstrate what the art of bending time does.
Uh-huh.
So the idea, and this may help it stick in people's minds, is that you may be able to take a point over here. Let's say that's your work colleague who knows about your hobby. And when you open the door to talking to people at work about things you love at home, and you find out that maybe there's a club they belong to that could improve what you're doing or make it faster or make it better, give you better skills, make it less expensive, whatever that is, you're literally doing this.
Uh,
So you've now taken this journey and you've made it into that journey.
yeah.
That's the art of bending time.
Squishing your capacity, squishing
Exactly. And connecting
ability.
things,
Yeah.
just connecting the fabric, so to speak.
Yeah.
So that, I mean, I sewed a lot when I was younger. And did you ever sew?
I'm horrible at it, but I've tried.
Like if you gather something, like you take something and you gather a hem, they call it, like if you're gonna make something where it's like wrinkled, right? You make a seam and then you pull it shorter onto, you see what I'm saying? And
Exactly.
and that's kind of what you're doing. You're bringing those things together and you're giving yourself the benefit now of somebody else's knowledge, connections, ideas that you wouldn't have otherwise had.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you for sharing that with us. So, thank you, Michelle. I think it really just gives us a fresh perspective on time and how we use our energy and what really matters. It's not just
Yeah,
about putting in as much time as possible when it comes to creating and growing your business, but it's also about finding out what really lights you up and connecting all these different areas in our lives could be so powerful. And
right.
to our listeners as well, thank you so much for joining us today on HCA Talks Health. And I'll catch you next time for more conversations that inspire healthier ways to live. Thank you, Michelle. Absolute privilege to have you on the show today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here with you.
Thank you for listening. We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please feel free to share it with friends or family who might find it inspiring. And if you'd like more insights like this sent directly to your inbox, make sure to sign up for our fortnightly HCA Talks Health newsletter. We've popped the link in the show notes. See you next time.